大家, welcome to my channel. I'm Richie, a game nerd and a self-learner of English from China. I'm talking about anything that I'm interested in to practice my English speaking skills because I haven't found any opportunities to use it in my daily life. This week, I originally planned to use Assassin's Creed Shadows as a victim of my practice. However, on November 1st, Lincoln Games released the second trailer for Showa American story, 2 years after the last PV, just when everyone thought they'd taken the money and disappeared. They dropped an absolute bombshell. The trailer is so explosively absurd and surreal that players in China, Japan, and the US are all calling it insane. Its crazy, nonsensical settings and dense memes have successfully grabbed my attention, making me laugh so bad. So I have decided to change the topic and talk about this game first. Of course, if you wanted to see my take on Assassin's Creed Shadows, remember to hit that follow button. Thank you. Then let's get started. First, to those who don't understand the title, the term Showa generally refers to the period in Japanese history during Emperor Hirohito's reign, from December 25, 1926 to January 7, 1989, lasting a total of 63 years. After the Showa era, Japan experienced the Heisei and now the Reiwa era. Therefore, the Showa 66 year in the game actually corresponds to 1991, which doesn't exist. Showa was a time of significant transformation for Japan, marked by events like World War II, Japan's post-war recovery, rapid economic growth, and modernization. The word Showa itself means united peace or harmony, reflecting aspirations for peace and stability during that era. The Showa period has also influenced Japanese culture, fashion, art, and even subcultures. So Showa often evokes a sense of nostalgia and is referenced in many areas of Japanese life today. In popular culture, Showa is sometimes used to describe anything from that era or anything with classic, retro Japanese aesthetic. In China, we refer to this era as the Japanese miracle. A small country like Japan became the second largest economy in the world. And there were rumors that at the time, the land price in Tokyo alone could buy the entire United States. Meanwhile, China couldn't even make it into the world top 10. However, after the signing of the Plaza Accord in 1985, Japan's economic bubble burst, and the country's economy entered a period of stagnation lasting for 13 years. During this time, the US also quickly grew in culture and economy, spreading its influence all over the world. This game assumes that Japan never signed the Plaza Accord and the Showa era's unstoppable development continued, leading to 1991. By then, Japan, with its powerful economic and cultural influence, had bought and colonized the United States. However, for some reason, a zombie apocalypse breaks out in this absurd world. The funniest part is that although this game is about Japan and the US, it is based on a group of Chinese people's stereotypes about these two countries. The development team even admitted that they didn't consult any experts to verify the accuracy of the historical events, but simply relied on their own impressions to create the game. In an era when everyone tries to avoid the stereotypes, it's both hilarious and ridiculous that someone openly admits they did this. What's even more surprising is that most Japanese and American players didn't feel uncomfortable about this. In fact, many of them found the settings incredibly interesting and said this was the true meaning of a game, making people happy. I even saw someone comment, "If possible, please match the release date with Assassin's Creed Shadows." Others said it was like The Man in the High Castle, a story about what would have happened if Nazi Germany had won World War II. But the Showa American story concept is far more ridiculous. There are no heavy themes in it. I think it's more like South Park and Rick and Morty, full of parody and wild, absurd imagination. Now let's try to explain this game roughly based on the trailer and some information the developers have released so far. It is said that the producer was born in 1982, a time when China had just started its economic reforms and had only recently established official diplomatic relationships with the US and Japan. After that, a lot of American and Japanese cultural products flooded into China, especially Japanese anime, manga, and games, as well as American movies and music. These cultural products have deeply influenced a generation of young Chinese, including myself. I can say I grew up watching Japanese anime and reading mangas. 正式に日本語を学んだは、けれどはないけれど、私は日本語を話すことができますよ。真実はいつも一つInfluenced by these works, my original dream was to become a manga artist. Although I ended up accidentally entered the gaming industry, it is still closely related to game and manga. As we often say, ACG, anime, comic, and game are inseparable. So in a way, I've realized my dream. Got a bit of a trick here. It's back to the game. In the pre-computer era, people mainly got their information and entertainment from television shows. Anime was often broadcast around 6:30 p.m. right after school, which is why the trailer mentions that the president must watch anime every afternoon at 6:13 and must not be disturbed. I don't know other countries, but in China, I think every child from that era has had the experience of watching anime and ignoring the mother calling them to dinner. The trailer features Tokusatsu shoes, Ostrom Boy, and the Cat Eyes Sisters, works that were frequently aired on TV at the time. I recognized them but never really watched them. By the time I grew up, we were watching Attack on Titan. Other popular works from that era include Dragon Ball, Kenya Shinjan, Doraemon, Pokemon, Gundam, Slim Dunk, and so on. Everyone had their own list, but many people's impressions of Japan were shaped entirely by this anime, and the developers retained this very personal impression, including some potentially biased or humorous stereotypes such as the yakuza, seppuku, hentai, samurai, ninja, cherry blossom, stray king, and even adult films, all of which were prominently featured in the game. Everyone who saw this couldn't help but call it overly intense, but somehow it did feel very Japanese. Of course, this story takes place in the US, so the American content can't be left out. At the time, American cartoons like Transformers and various Hollywood movies were very popular in China too, with the most iconic themes being aliens, superheroes, cowboys, and zombies. I suppose this is why the game has a post-apocalyptic zombie theme. Back then, American and Japanese gymnastic shoes were also quite popular in China, which is why we also see characters dressed in aerobic outfits. You could say that every second of the game is a meme, but will make you burst out laughing. When the governor of California with great, thick chest hair said that he is not only an American cowboy, but also a Japanese samurai, I literally spit it out. How could anyone come up with such a setup? He really embodied the ultimate stereotypes, yet somehow he's not at all annoying. In fact, it even feels quite reasonable. This is so hilarious and ridiculous, but funny at the same time. I'm curious how the neighboring Yubi samurai feels about this. This is the basic origin of the developer's so-called stereotype. If Americans and Japanese feel there's a discrepancy, it's because this is how Chinese people perceive you. It comes from the massive cultural exchange through anime, films, and comics. While this bias may be a prejudice, it is presented in a humorous way, and that's why people find it fun. I think that's the essence of video games. What's more important is that this is different from Black Myth Wukong. It is a completely new Chinese story. The experience it brings is also entirely different. It's hard to say whether the gameplay is good, but at least it's eccentric enough. It has brought us a lot of joy. As one review said, it's a story about Japan happening American, but created by a Chinese team. But in essence, it's a mortgage born from the massive cultural exchanges, just like a bizarre dream. I've watched a lot of reactions and trailers in various languages, and the comments below are even more entertaining than the trailers, making it impossible for me to stop laughing. If this isn't DEI, then I don't know what is. This method is much more sophisticated than forcing a particular ethnic group into a world they don't likely belong to. Don't get me wrong, I explained this situation in another video. If you're interested, please, yeah. And then demanding that the audience accept it. If they don't, the audience is scouted as freaks or racists. If the creators no longer care about what the players like and stand on the opposite side of the players, then why do we still buy it? No. So what do you think about this? Please leave your side of the story. Okay, that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. As always, if I made any mistakes that confused you, please correct me. I really appreciate your help. So until next time, stay safe, stay positive, and peace. Bye bye. 再见。